let it work, and synergistically together, can not only save a lot of money, but the health of the soil. You can see greater yields. There's just soil tilth, your seed bed. Actually, there's been a lot of instances where it actually warms up a little bit faster because there's more life in there.
Oh, it definitely warms up faster. That's what we saw. That's why I could plant corn the same day as my conventional till neighbors.
Okay.
And I was no-till, except for the air weighing in the fall with the fall program.
Okay. So I got a question for you. So for many years, does this picture look...
That's our field.
Okay. Can you just talk about that?
That was very early on with the AgriEnergy program, and I'm guessing my third year with that in that field, second or third year in that field, and I was using the airway that year and spraying the fall program. But my airway was 25 foot wide, and I think I had about 3 rows that it didn't make any sense to go a quarter mile down and a quarter mile back just to cover those 3 rows. So I skipped those 3 rows. Well, when Ken Musselman came out, and I said, Ken, there's a weird spot out in that field, and let's go. He said, well, let's go look. So we go out there, and sure enough, the soybeans were shorter. So I counted out my 10 rows from the fence line. So there were 10 rows of nice flocculated soil, as you can see there, and then those couple of rows of the chunky soils with shorter soybeans. And the only difference was the fall program there and air wind.
So, I mean, you understood the benefits before that even happened.
Oh, absolutely.
You kind of saw it working. But that picture, to me, is worth 1,000 words, right? Did that really just solidify, like, whoa, like I can see down to the line what this is really doing for me? Was that exciting, or how did you?
That shocked me that there would be that much of a difference. Well, I'd felt it with my feet already before with that one time, and that was in the very first field that we started with AgriEnergy. So, and even after a couple of years, isn't that amazing that after a couple of years of using AgriEnergy in the fall program, you can still notice where you did it and where you didn't do it. So you do have to do it every year, really, is what that's saying. Yeah. And I was kind of hoping that we were going to get away from that over the years.
Yeah.
But no, it's best to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great practice. And I mean, if you see benefits like that year over year and you see what it's doing for you, then it probably eases the pain of having to go out there in the fall a little bit, doesn't it?
Having to pay.
Yeah. Well, yes.
But we need inputs. Yes.
So you're an accountant, or right? Like
very focused
in accounting.
Very focused on the bottom line.
So the bottom line. So it's got to make sense, and pay dollars and cents at the end of the day, and pay off, right?
I like to do things that are good for the soil, but I also want to get paid for it.
You want to build your bank?
I don't want to do it just because it's good to do.
Yeah, you want to build your bank and the soil bank, right? I mean, it's a win-win. Right. So I think the fall program is a great start to be able to start getting paid dividends year over year, not only your soil to your crop, but it'll also increase yields over time, is what we've seen time and time again. I know you mentioned early on, the 90s, and things have changed. A lot of things have changed over the years. So back then, 150 bushel-ish, is probably about average for you. Does that sound?
Oh, back then?
Back in the 90s?
120.
120.
150 was tops.
150.
If you made 150, you were doing great.
So let's fast forward to, the last few years with all the different changes and so many years of being a biological farmer and using AgriEnergy product, not just the fall program, but you did the whole program. You did.
Yeah. We didn't shirk from doing everything.
So fast forwarding to that time frame, so just tell me a little bit about over 3 decades, not just the first 3 years, but the 3 decades. How did your soil change? How did your yields change? Did you become more profitable? Do you feel like, what's your...
Oh, absolutely. yeah, we've done very well over the years. The soil changed enormously with the aerobic zone, and the way the corn roots, just unbelievable mass of corn roots. We used to have such skimpy little corn roots, and yet it would make a good crop. But we've added so much flocculation on the roots, that's that word, and the aerobic zone has just grown deeper and deeper. It's amazing. And I once, well, I looked back once and I did a chart on our yields for our farm versus the county, and ours were always going up. The counties are going up also, but I'm quite sure that ours are continuing to go up faster than the counties are going up, and it pays on the bottom line.
That's amazing. Is there anything else that comes to mind that you may want to share with us?
There was something, but I can't think what it was. You had said, you told me to say something about something, and it hit me, but I can't think of it right now. Sorry.
No, I mean, with what you shared today, I'm more than ecstatic about, and very.
Well, I've always been very bottom line focused, so I always wanted anything that they said early on I wanted to test, and I took stuff into the elevator. I weighed stuff. So we didn't just guess. I remember one time, this is getting off topic, sorry Clint, but one time my father was telling me which soybeans were yielding better just by the bin and the looks of it. And so I took it to the elevator. He was wrong. So I don't believe anything unless you take it across a scale, and we did. And so we tested out all the different products when we first started trying what AgriEnergy said, and I never found them to be wrong.
And I think that's important, though. We always encourage, especially new customers. You know, you hear about all this snake oil and all this, right? And that term, I think you mentioned that, it was used back in the 80s, 90s, wasn't it? Still around today.
That's why I only started with 280-acre fields, because I was worried it was snake oil.
And we highly encourage side-by-side trials because, again, like I mentioned, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Something like that picture we just went over, being able to see that and actually, because sometimes it's easy to forget when things transition, you know, what it was and what it is. And biological farming, it's not a silver bullet. It doesn't change overnight. There's no one magic product, right? It's a system. It's management practices. It's, you know, the products, making sure that they're friendly to the soil. It's a whole package. And somebody with as much experience as, like you start out with Dave or Ken or Gary or the AgriEnergy team to help identify what is that best package for your farm or your soil or your crop. What is the most limiting factor? What is the best bang for your buck? I think that all, and being able to manage it such as you have for so many decades, is a feat that many of us just are very thankful for.
Oh, we only have so many dollars to spend, and back in the 90s it was very tight. 85 being the worst year, and then a slight rebound. 89 was when I got started farming, so that's when, so 2 years it took us to change what Dad had done, and which was my promise to Dad. And yeah, AgriEnergy focused us on, Dad had built up potash so high on all the soils that he farmed, we did not need to spend money on potash. If you followed Purdue, you would, but we got refocused and we shifted to calcium, and that was not a product that AgriEnergy was selling. So we used their products, we used Fall Program, and we used their products, and plus calcium, and eventually, after 10-15 years, those fields we did need to start adding potash. So you need to be focused on what the soils need, and if you need to change from field to field, which obviously. Soil samples will tell you that, but usually AgriEnergy products, it wasn't that much of a shift or a change from field to field.
Right.
Potash, phosphorus, there would be calcium, lime. Nitrogen was pretty steady. We didn't vary that by soil type.
Yeah. So over time, you know, biologicals help take out the variability a little bit. Then, would that be fair to say?
Well, what AgriEnergy always said was that you should have a better crop in a dry year, and I would say that that happened when I compare the county yields to our yields. We surpassed them, and going back to '91, I don't think we did any better. That was a very dry year, and we didn't do any better in the county. '88, we didn't do any better in the county. Those were two terrible years.
Well, we really again appreciate you know, being in business with you for over 30 years, and we're happy that you're finally hanging up the hat. I think it's well deserved, and your management practices and the methods you use, and we've been able to learn from each other throughout the last 3 decades, and we're very thankful for that, and we value that. And you know, even we'll continue our relationship, you know, until the end of time. So so thank you very much for taking the time today, and
You're welcome.
you know, I was able to learn so much, and I hope those viewing are able to learn something. And I know you have a busy schedule in retirement, so taking time out of your day.
Gotta go golf.
So, but thank you very much. So,
You're welcome.
Is there anything
It's
else
been
you
a
would like
pleasure
to add?
doing business with AgriEnergy over the years. Very reputable people.